Hey folks, Dave back again, and no app or football on the table tonight. All right, so we're not going to play anything tonight. Just got a quick little chat tonight. Um, as I was doing some things with the product. So what I decided to do after playing 9 or 10 games of week one of my 78 APA season, I pulled out the Pro Football Helper and I used that for one of my games, and it made things faster. I thought it would slow things down, and it made things faster. And so I have all the stats in there, and I was like, you know something? I kind of liking the stats. I like looking at where I am during the game and how the guys are doing, and how many yards you got. And I like to make sure that I'm spreading around the runs and the passes a little bit because I'm kind of winging it. And I was like, okay, I like this. And then I said, well, I have to go now back to all the games I played, which was like 9 or 10 of them, and input every single play if I want to kind of keep things accurate. As Apachata comes by, how you doing? And so, yep, so that's what I've been doing all day. I get out of work today, middle of the afternoon is when I finish up on Fridays because I work early Fridays. And I've been sitting here just plowing away, inputting game after game after game. And it's taken me like 45 minutes to an hour to put in these things. And you can see what I got here. So this is what I was using, and I go line by line by line, and I'm putting in every single play into the helper. And there's a few like with the penalties and stuff. I'm trying to remember what happened because I only did a little bit of detail on here. Oh my gosh, that's been, whoo, it's been crazy. So I got a whole bunch of games in. I still think I got 3 more to go before I'm caught up with all the games that I played. Going forward, I'm going to play everything on the helper. And why I say that, okay? And Larry, you might be asking, who makes mistakes, right? You might be asking, Larry, about mistakes. Well, when I went back and I'm going line by line in the game and I'm putting the stats into the helper, I made a lot of mistakes. Yep. I mean, and I don't know if I was making them while I was live or making those while I was offline here, but I would make little things like, okay, so it's 1st and 10, and the runner went for -1 yards. And I, instead of 2nd and 11, I made it 2nd and 9. And I found a lot of little mistakes like that. And I'm like, man, what do I do? And then I made mistakes like on the timing because I'm putting in the time into the helper, and I look down and I'd be off by like a minute and a half. I'm like, man, I got to make this time up because I'm going to run out of time, or I'm going to have too much time left at the end of the quarter. And so, yeah, I found that doing it my way of writing it out, as careful as I was still making a lot of math errors. Yeah, I just was. And I was like, oh man, that kind of stinks. As David C comes by and Larry says, who makes mistakes? We all do. And so I couldn't believe how many mistakes I made. And again, none of them were game wreckers. Okay, none of them gave somebody a win or whatever, or anything like that. But it was just like, it was just so many times like, man, how did I screw up this? Or there'd be a couple of times I get a 6 yard gain, and when I wrote down that where I was giving myself like a 7 or an 8 yard gain. I'm like, oh man, how did I do that? So I'm going to use the helper from now on when I play my Apple football games, and it's just so that way everything will be consistent. You know what I mean? But I made a lot of mistakes in those games, and again, it's just fun in the whole bit. But I did. I made a bunch of mistakes. As Keith stops by, hi Keith, good to talk to you here. And yeah, I'm like, so what? So how do you guys handle it? I mean, I'm meticulous, okay. And oh, by the way, Keith just put out some really good videos on YouTube for Solitaire Pro Football, which I need to get back to and play. I really enjoyed that. I haven't played that in a long time, but I really enjoyed that game. As Ron comes by, hi Ron McGrath and Bill Thornton. Good to see you guys. And so yeah, so how do you guys handle mistakes when you make mistakes and then you catch them? And sometimes you catch them after the fact. What do you do? And so I mean, it's kind of too late for me because I've already played the game, so I'm just kind of fudging the best I can to get back on track. And yeah, I don't know what to do with that one. So I just kind of went with it. I think in my old age, I'm starting to mellow out a little bit. I think. And Sports Time Machine comes by. I was just watching him. He had a full house in his YouTube channel tonight for his baseball game. Good for you, man. Good for you. I was putting in stats. Had you on. I was listening while I was inputting stats. So so I decided to bite the bullet and put the stats in for my 78 season. And the plan right now is to finish out putting in the stats, and then I think I got 2 or 3 games left. And that'll complete week 1. And all the stats will be in, and then I'll show the stats off and we'll talk about it. Then I'm going to probably step away from 78 for a bit. Maybe. And I want to play a couple of games from the other seasons I got, and then, get back to some Apple hockey and maybe some shootout. And I got that payoff pitch 86 season still sitting over here on the table. Haven't touched that in a while. But yeah, it was just weird to see how many mistakes I made and like how my math was kind of wrong. And I tend to, in baseball, I don't make those mistakes. But in football, when you play by play, it's like, okay, 10-yard gain to here and 6-yard loss and then 4-yard gain. And you're trying to write it down and sometimes you're trying to go too fast, And yeah, I made a bunch of mistakes on there. I mean, at least 1 or 2 in every game. And again, it wasn't anything that was like, a touchdown or a fumble that I gave it away. Although I did learn, and I'm learning, I made a bunch of mistakes on how I'm playing Apple football. And we're going to clarify those tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Boston time. We're scheduled to have a couple of people on that you might know to talk about Apple football. And they're going to answer all my questions, I hope. And if you got any Apple football questions, now's the time to get that in. Because I've been asking a ton of questions on Delphi and Facebook about Apple football. Because now that I'm playing it more and I'm getting better at it, I'm finding more things. And there's a couple of weird little quirks at the game, how it handles penalties and fumbles on punts and kickoffs. It's kind of weird how they do it. I think I got it figured out now. But there's a few things that are just kind of weird. So I want some clarification on a couple of things from those guys. In fact, I got my my notes over here, and I got a lot of notes here. Well, there's a lot of questions coming, guys. So if you're watching this, be ready. No, I'm only kidding. I only have like 6 or 7 questions. I just want to clear up some things in the game. And again, if I'm playing it wrong or I'm making mistakes, that's not the end of the world. I'd like to do my best to, when you're reading the chart, to know who's going to get the ball and know who the penalty's on. You know what I mean? So, I just want to kind of get it right. So I'm making mistakes in my math in the football game, and I'm making mistakes in the game. And one of the things I started to do is now that I'm getting comfortable with the Apple football, and I got a nice system here, and I have it set up, and I get it. I think it's looking okay on the stream too. Now that I added the helper, so I got a nice setup of the cards, so you can see the cards and roll the dice, and now I got the helper on the screen. And so what I've been doing now is, now that I'm kind of getting comfortable with it, I've been going to Pro Football Reference, and I'm going to the game and I'm seeing who's in the game. And not so much the linemen and stuff, but the key players. I want to see who the quarterback is. I want to see who the running backs and receivers are, the kickers are. So I'm kind of looking to see who gained yardage and how many passes to throw in the guys, if they had any passes. And so when I'm setting up my lineups here right in front of me, if I don't see somebody with a run or an attempted run or a pass or attempted pass, I'm going to assume they didn't play, so they go off to the side. And there's been a couple of guys that were named players that weren't playing. I was like, ooh, this guy ain't playing. Even quarterbacks. There's been a couple of quarterbacks that weren't playing that should be playing. And so I had to put the starter off and bring in the guy that actually played the game. And I made a mistake too. I was looking at the Houston Atlanta game of 78, and my kicker was Tim Mazzetti. And in that game, they had a backup kicker, or maybe he was the original kicker, and it was like Fred Steinfurt or something like that. So I was kicking the entire game with the wrong kicker. Again, not a big deal in my world. Maybe it's possible that the other guy was sick that day and Mazzetti come in and kick. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to kind of at least start with, like I do with hockey, start with a roster that's pretty close to who played that day, and then let them play out. Then it's all fictional at that point. And let me go here. And this is a good point. Apple Chatter makes a really good point. Mistakes happen And they balance out for each team. They really do. And I tell guys like that in my hockey leagues all the time. When something, they'll score a goal and it goes in and out of the net. Nobody saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. It was in and out so fast. I go, I can't call it a goal unless I know it's a goal, and I don't know if that was a goal. And they hem and they haw, and then you skate out and say, look, how many times has the other team done that? The other team shot it in the net and it come right out, and we didn't call it a goal. Yeah, again, as they say, it comes out in the wash. It never, even on Sunday football, when you're watching football, and I love sitting there because I don't really care anymore about football since the Patriots stink now. And my phone will be going all day on Facebook, and it's like, the refs this guy this, and this guy that, and no, the refs this. And it's like, both teams bitching about the refs. I'm like, you both can't bitch about the refs, okay? The refs got to be favoring one team or the other. They can't favor both teams, or they can't, purposely hurt both teams. But that's what people do. But they don't understand that, for every tuck rule, there's a roughing the passer that didn't go your way. I just went and watched that again, 1976. Stabler roughing the passer. I don't know how you rough the passer when you're sacking somebody, but now you got the tuck rule. So again, roughing the passer, tuck rule. They wash out. It all comes out in the wash, like Apachata says. And the other thing people do sometimes is if they make a mistake in the game, they just blame it on the official. And they'll say something like, "Well, the official blew the call," or he missed the third strike or something like that, and you play on. And that's what we do. Again, it's all supposed to be fun. You can't beat yourself up over it. But boy, I found myself making a lot of math mistakes, and then also the game. I'm learning the game, and I find out that I was just playing some things kind of wrong. And it's like, oh man, So now I got to fix that and go back and try to get it right, And Bill says, I recently had a mistake pointed out to me that cost one of the baseball teams a game. It's too late to fix it. If he can fix it during the game, he will try. Yeah. I messed up. I was playing the Dolphins and the Jets, and that game was nuts. It was like a one-score game, and the Dolphins 80-yard pass touchdown, so they went ahead, and then the Jets got it, and they got a 87-yard touchdown pass. It was like I was rolling 66s, and I was like, this team scores, and this team scores, and this team scores. And then I went back and I looked, and I was like, oh, I messed up. It really wasn't a one-score game. This team should have been up by 20. And then tonight I put in the stats, I was like, nope, I was right the original way. For some reason, I was reading the score sheet wrong, and it was back and forth. And what a game, Miami goes up with, a minute to play, and then 2 passes later, the Jets tie it up and go ahead on a field goal, whatever it was. And, but I made all kinds of mistakes in that. But when I finally laid it out, now it's in the helper. And now it should be good to go. And Jeff says he lives with it and move on. Yeah, you have to. I know. My problem is I'm such a perfectionist, or at least I used to be, that it kind of bugs me when I do something wrong. You know what I mean? I want it to be right. But again, in my old age, I'm kind of just easing back a little bit. I'm trying not to let too many things bother me. I don't know. Maybe it's the medication that's mellowing me out. I don't know. You never know. And Keith says, I read when I first started back to playing cards and dice games that players make mistakes, coaches make mistakes, ref makes mistakes. So it's okay to make mistakes. And if you can fix it, you will. I think that's the best way to look at that, Now, when you're playing the computer games, there's really no mistakes, except when you do things like I did when you take the DH and put him in the game, because I didn't know that wrecked the lineup. I don't know enough about baseball. I was playing a Red Sox game one day, and I was like, oh, well, but just put Jim Rice in left field and move Yaz to first. Well, for some reason, that kicked the DH out of the game or something like that. I didn't know. Really, I didn't know. And I was like, that's okay. Made a mistake. We live with it. We learn. We move on. And it was just kind of funny. Just someone who doesn't know enough about the game making a mistake. And that was okay. And Sports Time Machine, he started as Stratomatically with cards and dice was inputting box scores. Yeah. I mean, that's a fun way to do it. It really is. And move most of my games to PC to prevent errors and ease of play. Yeah. Although I do like the cards and dice. I think we all do. I think there's something about it. And I know the computers make it easier in the whole bit. That's why helpers are so good. is because you're still playing cards and dice, but you have something doing like the heavy lifting for you, after you figure out the play. That's where Strat and Replay Baseball and Digital Diamond, you can play cards and dice and log in the game there, and it's beautiful. I need something like that for hockey. I was doing the football helper tonight, and I'm like, man, imagine if there was something like this for hockey, and I could play any hockey game I wanted to and put it in there. That'd be great. That'd be really nice. But yeah, so I'm inputting my stats, made some mistakes in the gameplay, made some mistakes in the game itself. And I was like, man, I can't believe how many mistakes I made. I guess it's easy to do when you're doing, what am I doing? 120 plays a game, and then some are called back on penalties and this and that. So it happens. We all kind of make mistakes in the games we play. So yeah, that was just kind of on my mind tonight. I'm actually just wanted to take a break from inputting the games because I've been doing it, like I say, for hours and hours and hours, and it's been tiring. My eyes are starting to hurt from looking at the screen and looking at all those little lines and trying to sort out the games. But so I think I'm going to go back to the helper now full time and do it that way. Unless I do a one-off somewhere, then it's just kind of a fun thing, And Brian likes the hat. Yeah, I got like the Cubby hat. Yeah, yep. I got a whole bunch of hats over Christmas Day and the Christmas sale. This company has the visors, and they were like $5. And I just go and buy whatever's in clearance, as long as I don't have it already. And I got a whole bunch of baseball visors that I can wear during the games. And Texas Ag says, at least you have the patience and perseverance to stick with things. I get frustrated at times and have to drop a game for a while. Um, well, yeah, I'm impatient at times and with a lot of things. It just so happened that the games I played recently, since I come out of my busy work schedule, were Quick Text football, which I just really liked. It was difficult and there's a lot to thinking to it, but it was a challenge, and I liked that, and I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I liked how that flowed. And then Appa came in, and it was very different than Quick Text because it was Appa style, and it was just easy. You just read the chart and you're done. Whereas the Quick Text is you need to kind of follow that whole thing. You need to follow the play, follow the sack, and do all this other stuff, and follow the penalties. If there's penalties and there's pressure, you're going to roll for pressure. So you're kind of doing it every step of the way. Whereas Apple, you roll the dice and everything's there. Whereas Quick Decks, everything that happens in that play in Apple, let's say, you're rolling for every little piece of that and trying to figure it out, or flipping a card or something. Excuse me. And that's what made it fun. Whereas Apple was just kind of, it's all done for you. And not that that's a terrible thing. But just if you find a game that you like and in a season that you like, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just enjoying the heck out of this. And I don't know what it is about Apple football. It just feels like you're watching a football game. And when I talk about the Play Golf game, History Maker Golf, and how it feels like you're watching golf on TV. You're sitting back on a Sunday and you're watching golf. It does it. The History Maker Golf is insane how it makes you feel like you're watching golf on TV, but you're rolling dice and flipping car, whatever you're doing, and you're part of it. And the same with the Apple football. It just feels like I'm watching a game on TV. I mean, I get the Rams and the Eagles, and the Rams punter muffed 2 snaps in the same game. I rolled and I got the F number, and he screwed it up. And so, in my mind, maybe it's raining really hard, or maybe it's really windy, and that's why he couldn't get a grip on the ball. So it told a story. That's how the Rams lost to the Philadelphia, is that 2 punts went whoop, right to the guy's hands. Back-to-back punts. And it made for a fun story, and I can see that happening. I wouldn't want it every game, but the occasional football follies in a game, it tells a story. That Jets-Dolphins game I was talking about, how it's, I get an 80-yard touchdown and an 85-yard touchdown kind of back-to-back. I wouldn't want that every game, but sure made that one exciting, And so, just really, like I say, so it's sometimes it's, just me being older and patience, or just enjoying the game. there's some games I play and I want to rush to it. So let me get this done. Let me get this done. And there's some that I just enjoy playing, and I don't want it to end. And Alan stops by. He goes, I was in the 12th inning of an APA baseball game when I realized I'd added up the runs incorrectly in a previous big inning, and the game should have ended in regulation. Yep. And Keith says, I've done that too. I've done similar things where I'm looking back, I'm like, oh, like a lot of times what I'm doing with APA football is I'm still getting used to it. Especially if there's teams I'm not familiar with. And I was playing Kansas City and Cincinnati, I think it was. Ironically, the game Al Red Sox fan was playing last night. And I didn't know a lot of those guys. So I was calling runs, and I was calling runs with the other team's running backs, if you follow. So Cincinnati's got the ball, and I'm going, okay, outside the read. And I roll the dice, I do the play, and it's like, Reed's on the Kansas City team, not Cincinnati. So I got to rewind the play and find the other guy's card and try to remember what I rolled. And I did that so much because I just didn't know the teams that well. Now, like teams like New England and Tampa Bay, I know teams like that. And the Steelers, of course, I know everybody on the Steelers from the 70s, just from, them winning all those championships. But there's a couple teams, middle of the pack, bottom of the pack, and I don't know. And so I'm like, okay, we're going to run this guy, and wrong team. And so I did that so many times. I have to go back or I don't flip the chart. That's the other thing. So I get excited. I'm like, oh, get the ball, we're driving. Here we go. And then I roll in the chart. And then 2 plays later, I'm like, you know something? I didn't flip the chart to where I am on the field. I'm inside the 30. I'm going into the red zone. That's a different chart than the main chart. So we've done some crazy things like that. We all have. Patrick stopping by, and first time chatting. Thanks for coming by, Patrick. And he likes the Colts pennant in the background. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I gotta adjust those for tomorrow night. I gotta find some more classic football ones for our Apple football chat tomorrow night that we're gonna do. I'm excited. Again, when you find people that are involved in the same game that you're playing, especially I'm new at the game, so I'm really excited. And now I can talk to some veterans of the game and learn about the history of the game and what's going on in the community. And I got to say, the Apple football community has been so good, really unbelievably good. And just trading me seasons. And so one guy gave me a season. He's like, hey, I got 2 of these by accident. You want one? And someone has let me borrow a season so I can play a couple of teams that are my favorites. Yeah, it's kind of good. And then over here in this box right here, that white box, I'll unbox that probably early next week because that's my birthday present that arrived super fast. And I'll unbox that next week and show you what season I got and why. And then on April 19th, I'm taking that day off. That's my birthday day. And I told the wife, don't bother me. I'm going to be playing Apple football all day, I hope. We'll see. Unless she drags me out for lunch or something. And Patrick says he hasn't played Apple football in 40 years. Well, the new game is fantastic. The new game. I have an older set of cards and an older set of charts. And boy, I tell you, compared to the new game is so good. The charts are great. Everything's expanded, interceptions, fumbles, the whole bit. It's such a just a bigger game, not more complicated, just a bigger game. A lot more results happening, a lot of different things happening. I know that like I say, I played the older game with the older charts. It's okay, but this is the newer game. It's just, oh my gosh, I just can't go back. It's kind of like when you had like, your old, standard definition TV, then you go to high def. Like, oh, how can I go back and watch anything in standard def now? Yeah, maybe an old classic movie might be kind of fun once in a while, but for the most part, like, oh no, man, I need to see it like this. And let's see, Steelers, Jets, and if you have it, Alabama. And I don't have any college. I don't think I got I might. I don't think I have any of those. I should probably get myself a Steelers one, like a classic one. I was picking them up off eBay once in a while. I have mostly hockey, but I got a bunch of football too. Some of them I think I think that Dolphins one. There's a couple I've had since I was a kid because I got a bunch of pennants as a kid, and I think I kept them. So that Dolphins one, don't hold me to it, but that might be an original from like 1981 or 82. It might be. And yeah, tomorrow night we're having a chat, and yeah, if you haven't played the football game, like I said, the new one's great. The new one's really great. But so anyway, yeah, so I just want to come on real quick tonight because I do have to get up early tomorrow and do some work. And I'm going to try to put in one more game tonight so I can inch closer to have all my games in that helper, and then I can get back to playing. So I'm going to jump out here, but I did want to come on and say hi. Again, remind everybody about tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Boston time. We're going to have a football chat. And I just want to kind of tell everybody, boy, I've been making a lot of mistakes in the football game. Again, I'm new. So, I mean, I'm not beating myself up over it, but it's just like, oh, man, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that. And, stupid mistakes, you know what I mean? But we all make them. So I just thought I'd come on and talk about mistakes while playing. Sometimes you mistake, you screw up a rule, and sometimes you screw up the score or a play that can lead to a score. And we've all done that. And the worst feeling in the world is when you've moved beyond that and you're like, oh man, I think I did this wrong, or I've been doing this wrong for the last few innings, or for the last period, or for the last quarter, and you're like, man, what do you do? It's like, man, I've been just playing. Do I scrap it and start over, or am I too far along and just going to say, oh, the heck with it, I'm going to ride with it? I don't know. And Alan says he just got Quick Text football with 2013. Should I keep studying the rules or just start playing it and figure it out on the fly? Well, read the rule book once through. There's a lot to it, and it won't make much sense. And then just start playing it, and you're flipping the cards and you're seeing what's going on, and keep the rule book handy because there's a lot of things. One thing that I didn't realize for probably a couple of games is that there's two types of pressure on the quarterback. There's quarterback pressure and defense pressure, and you're rolling dice and looking at the quarterback rating for the quarterback and the defense rating for the defense. So there's two types of pressure on the quarterback in that game, and that's one thing I didn't pick up on right away. And there's a few other things in there that didn't jump out at me, and that's why I had to make a little cheat sheet, like the run stuff. There's a thing called run stuff where you roll to see if the defense stuffs the runner. And I remember reading that in the rule book, and when it come up in the game, I couldn't for the life of me find it. And I'm like, it's in here somewhere. Where is the run stuff? So there's things like that. There's a lot of things going on. It's a busy, busy game. It's not hard, but it's just busy. There's all these different flavors of jelly beans, and you're trying to find all the yellows. It's kind of what it feels like. But Quick Text football is so good. I really do like it. But it's a thinking man's game, and you'll be sitting there flipping cards, and what I'm doing, flip a card. Okay, let me go to the rule book and check this out. And what I was doing, slowly but surely, I was learning parts of the game. So once I learned this, I wouldn't have to worry about this. Now I just got to worry about the other things, and then I would learn this. So slowly but surely, I would, that's what you do in the game. You learn some of the basics. So I know this now. I don't have to worry about it. But there's so much going on with that game. But it's fun. It's fun and it's challenging. So anyway, I'm Dave. I want to thank you guys for coming by tonight for this little quick chat tonight. And hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll have a nice big chat with Apple football. And, maybe we'll talk some other Apple sports too if they want to, or whatever comes to mind during our chat. So, all right, I'm Dave. You guys have a good night. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.